let me sort of come back to you now, right?
Yeah.
What I heard Dikshant almost say is Q4 is here.
True.
Do you know, do your thing in Q4, but prepare for the real winter in Q1, right? Uh, how bad can Q1 get? Let's say for publishers in India, like what kind of stuff what kind of CPM trends have you seen? And like, what would you recommend somebody at this point to sort of to start considering in their experiment set?
So, like Dikshan mentioned already, I think Q4 is here, and what we are seeing is something that we did not anticipate, right? We are not seeing a huge uplift at this point right now.
Yeah.
Though the anticipation is that we might see something, but compared to what it was last year, again, we should definitely not have our hopes high as much, which is why
Sure.
we continuously still ask people that they should continuously try products or solutions that could add to their revenue potential that they have.
Yeah.
Now, coming on
Mm-hmm.
to Q1, which is the real winter that we are talking about, I feel
Mm-hmm.
that we have seen, I think, during the mid year this time around, that the CPM levels already went as low as the January levels, right? Now,
Okay.
in the coming January, if we are talking about, I think it could be as low as 20% lower than the January last year, or maybe 2022, right? So
Okay.
22 was anyway lower than 21, and 23 is anticipated to be lower than 22, in my opinion, at this point, because of the
Got it.
situation, the trend that we are seeing. So I think that becomes a golden opportunity for people to try out as many things as possible. Of course, focusing on the content, if the content is unique, the content is authentic, and
Mm-hmm.
value to the users, that is something that they should be focusing on. If the UX
Got it.
design is most important, I know that
Right.
this time around it would not be something that they would want to touch, at least in Q4. But in Q1, the things that they can do to still get back at good traffic, organic traffic, however
Sure.
it is possible. Plus, I think if that is also coupled up with how they can focus on the core web vitals, the page speed, which is the ultimate focus that Google also gives while allocating traffic or ranking the website onto their pages.
Got
Apart
it.
from optimizations that we'll be doing for our publishers in terms of adding bidders continuously and giving them new formats, new support, and products which they can help leverage to optimize their performance. But other than that, from what they can do at their side in the
Hmm.
parallel is something that we recommend as well.
Right. You know what? What's interesting is for the first time I've heard I've had an ad ops centric conversation also include the word core web vitals. Right. For the longest time, ad ops folk would just stay away from page load time or page speed score or lightning score. Right. It's for the first time. Right. I've had core web vitals become like an important part of the conversation. Right now, given where you're here right now, right? Let me ask you, and again, I think as Diksha mentioned that header bidding now has appeared is appearing to be like a table stake in the whole programmatic yield optimization game, right? Uh, what would be your point of view for news publishers, right? Like, what would their like if I'm part of a programmatic yield team at a news and media publisher, right? What would be my checklist? Like, what would be your go-to checklist, right, for me as a yield optimizer? Yeah.
So I think if you are in the programmatic part of a news media house, I think the things to checklist from your bucket is how good are first that, because I think all media houses also have segregated inventory between direct sales, programmatic sales, right?
Romantic says, yeah.
So programmatic usually becomes a small portion in Q4 because the direct portion becomes heavy, right? So now
Yeah.
our job is to optimize whatever is left for the programmatic inventory as good as possible. So I think from that front, one thing that we would want to optimize is how can we optimize the unfilled inventory, right? I think from that front, that has been one of the challenges that they face, that there is a huge unfilled inventory that they have. They have segregations from AMP and non-AMP. So they might be able to perform optimizations on a segment of their inventory, let's say on non-AMP web, But AMP, it is still slightly challenging for media houses to optimize how they can reap the best potentials, which is why I think we have developed solutions for AMP also, but I think that is one of
Sure.
the core things that they have to focus on in terms of optimization. Video is something I think that is being used, but how can we optimize video? How can we add header bidding to the table for video also?
Mhm.
I mean, specifically in stream
Mhm.
video, right?
Got it.
Continuously adding bidders to the entire setup. Price flow testing is something that they can test at this point to see that if this is the right metric to, if this is the right number that I'm getting, or if there is slightly more potential, how can I juice out slightly more CPMs from
Yeah.
the number that I'm seeing. So I think that is one of the checklist, I think, at least in Q4, that if they are able to follow from an ad standpoint, that would
Sure.
complete their bucket list of
Got it.
check.